Hi, Rachel Mead here, President and founder of Enhanced Prep. Thanks for joining me today while we take a look at some common traps in a reading section of a standardized test. Now, this could be an SAT or an ACT, it could be a GRE or a GMAT, it could even be a placement for a private school within the elementary, middle school, or high school levels, such as ISEE or SSAT. This is some things that test writers do that they know throw students off when they're testing. The more I can get you thinking like a test writer, the more I can get you aware of where your trap answers or your distractive answers are going to be. So we're going to take a look at 4 different things that test writers do in order to attract students to incorrect answers. The first one is extreme language, and we'll define what that is, and we'll take a look at some examples of some answer choices. We also have negative language. You can think about that in terms of negative connotation as well too, something that gives you a slightly yucky feeling whenever the word is used. We have our opinion-based language, and then we also have answer choices that include the reader, such as you, we, or anything that's an entire group. For example, scientists did this or scientists learned this. That's going to be incorrect as well too. So let's jump in and let's take a look at these together. So when we're looking at extreme language, some examples that I like to talk about with students is I could be hungry, I could be starving, I could be famished. Famished is a more extreme word form of saying I need to put food in my stomach. Famished is I'm near the point of death because I have been starving for so long. It's taking it to a stronger degree. We don't want to use answer choices that have extreme language in them. That can also be our absolutes or anything that's trying to make it black and white. I've got a couple of great examples on the screen here for you. Always, never, completely, all. Everything that's saying it's this or it's not, there's no kind of, sort of, maybe gray space in between. So be careful about the word choice. Let's look at some answer choices and what we can recognize as extreme language in them. Problems that can result from a person's unyielding focus. Wow, an unyielding focus. That's taking their focus to an extreme degree, right? Maybe it's going to be a fine-tuned focus or a pinpoint focus, but unyielding is again going too far than it needs to. Argue that yellow and white are the only natural tulip colors. Again, that only is saying it's black and white. It's this or it's not. Rap artists have rejected every aspect of Tin Pan Alley. Oh, every aspect? Really? Are you 100% sure about that? Suggest that there are, last one, suggest that there are areas of Brooklyn that are intolerable because of the wind. Well, not just uncomfortable or unfavorable, but intolerable. So I would eliminate every single answer like this that uses this type of extreme language. Notice we're not even paying attention to where these answers come in or how much time I've spent on the reading or the analysis. I need to get really, really good, which means you students out there need to get really, really good about recognizing when you have extreme language. Get rid of it right away because we don't want it to distract us or cause us to spend more time than we need to. All right, negative language. Let's see what we have here. It is really important to remember that the test cannot offend anyone, regardless of their attachment to a question, a topic, a subject, a person. The correct answer cannot speak negatively about the author or the subject. It cannot have an unfavorable undertone because let me tell you, test writers have been sued if they come in and put a negative connotation to something or someone and present it as a correct answer because that's saying all people should be feeling this way about the thing. So just remember, if there's a word in there that kind of makes you a little bit squeamish, I don't want this word said about me, it cannot be included in our correct answer. Let's take a look at a couple example answers here and what we don't like about them. So let's take a look at what some answer choices look like that we would eliminate when they have negative language in them. Career of a real estate agent and the agent's typically mundane transitions with clients. So we have this negative language of mundane, boring, dull, dry, not fun. So we don't want to put that negative connotation on what's happening with real estate agents and their clients. An ostentatious look. Hmm. Maybe you might not recognize that vocabulary word. Make sure you get that added, but we need to pay attention to what's happening here. Somebody is looking down on something else as being less than or not as good as. He had disdain for most Northeastern newspapers. So, hey, somebody's saying that they not only dislike, but disdain. That's almost verging on the point of hating what's happening with these Northeast newspapers. Negative language we need to get rid of there. The ubiquity of the lawn has outstripped its benefits. The ubiquity of the lawn has outstripped its benefits. There's something going on here. Maybe I don't know ubiquity. Make sure you get that added to your list. But it's saying that it's outstripped, it's lived longer than, it no longer has benefits. They're saying something very negative about this lawn. We would get rid of every single one of these answer choices because of the negative connotation that we have appearing in each one of them. One of our third common traps is opinion-based language. And I don't want to say that these are always wrong, but I tell students all the time, it needs to tingle your spidey sense. You need to get that feeling that says, ooh, flashing yellow light, I need to be careful when we have opinion-based words in our answer choices, unless it is directly stated in the text. We need to be on the lookout for it. What makes a word opinion-based? Unless every single person on the whole entire planet is going to define a word the same way, it's an opinion-based word. For example, if I were to say that was a drastic increase, drastic would be an opinion-based word. What might be drastic to me might not be drastic to you. That was a lot of functions that were going on at the same time. Is a lot 7? Is a lot 37? Is it 407? We need to be careful of anything that might signify value without having a clear black and white clean cut definition to it. So let's take a look at some answer choices that include some opinion-based language in them. The wasted expense of the lawn equipment they already own. So they're saying, hey, the expense was wasted. Well, would everybody think that it's wasted? No. Some people might spend a lot of money on some bells and whistles on a driving lawnmower that other people would think is wasted, but we can't all define it that same way. Let's look at the next one. Most astronomers have come to an agreement that evidence about how galaxies have formed is at best circumstantial. At best? What does that mean? Do we have a clear definition of that? Is this the best it's ever going to get? Does that mean the majority of people accept it and some don't? Are we saying sometimes it's circumstantial, but not always? We've got a lot of grayness going on here with this opinion-based language. It won't last long. What does that mean? How long is long? Is long 5 minutes? Is long half an hour? Is long 3 days? The sea will become rough. Oh, what does that mean? How big do the waves have to be for the sea to be rough? We're going to be careful of that. And then this last one down here. The ants experiencing a positive outcome when they attack in a large group. Well, positive tends to be it's not neutral and it's not negative. Most people are going to agree on the definition on what it means to be positive, but large group is very opinionated. How many things, in this case, ants, have to be in the group in order for it to be considered large? If we're not all going to define large group the same way, we have to eliminate it because it cannot be the correct answer. And then the last trap we're going to take a look at is anytime they're putting the reader into the question or making an assumption about an entire group. We cannot have incorrect assumptions within our answers. So if we see any answers that do a you, we about how we think, feel, or act, where the reader is part of that group, we have to eliminate that answer. If it assumes that everyone in a group of people, if it's their demographic, their role, an era that they lived in, they're all going to think, feel, behave the same way. We cannot do that either. It is an incorrect assumption. So let's take a look at what we see here. Argues that growers should have dealt with broken tulips differently. Well, it's not saying some growers or these growers, it's saying growers. That's all inclusive about the people that we're dealing with, in this case, broken tulips. We're saying that every single grower needed to do things differently. Wrong assumption. Do not appeal to young people. Well, again, that's saying, well, we already talked about young, what makes somebody young, but then we're also saying all young people feel the same way and they don't like this thing. Illustrate how difficult it is to unearth details about Brooklyn's past. Well, whoever was unearthing these details, but who was doing that, right? We need to be careful with this, and we also have this difficulty involved with it. So that's saying all of the people that were unearthing details about Brooklyn's past were finding it difficult. I know we're not directly saying what that group of people is, but we're saying anybody involved in unearthing the details because we're not putting boundaries on our language. Cautiously suggests that suburbanites often refuse to perform their civic duties. All suburbanites often refuse this, not just some or in a particular place. Again, we can't be all inclusive with regards to this. So now I want to take a look at a couple of questions, and notice that I am not giving you the reading that goes along with this. Am I telling you we shouldn't read? I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is that you, if you're looking to maximize your reading score, need to get a lot more better about analyzing what makes an answer choice right or what makes an answer choice wrong, regardless of what's being presented to you, by understanding what our test writers do to try and trap us here. The passage as a whole can best be described as. So we want to look for anything based upon these 4 common traps that we analyze together that might be included in here. A critique of the overuse of electron tunneling microscopy in surface imaging. Is everybody going to agree on what it means to overuse this thing? That's pretty opinion based. I better get rid of that answer choice. A discussion of a physical phenomenon. Oh my gosh, that's going pretty extreme on us, isn't it? A phenomenon, once in a lifetime miracle that nobody could ever imagine was going to happen. I have to get rid of that answer choice. And again, I'm not going to read any further than that because I know it has that trap in there. Let's look at H, an argument for eliminating microscopy in surface imaging, not decreasing, not using it less, not incorporating something else, but eliminating. Get rid of it altogether. It no longer happens with anyone, anywhere, at any time. Too extreme there. I have to eliminate that. So I'm going to choose answer choice J, a review of the quantum principles behind electron tunneling microscopy. Broad, general, neutral, boring answer choice that doesn't have extremes, it doesn't have negative connotation, it doesn't have grouping of people in it, it doesn't have my opinion-based language. Again, I didn't read the passage, but I know based upon those traps, F, G, and H are wrong. I'm choosing J. Think about how much time employing this is going to help save you. Got a couple more for you to take a look at with me as well, too. It can reasonably be inferred from the passage that the information about Adams and his research is presented primarily to provide a review of all research. I can't say all research. Maybe you're doing some research on this right now. We can't include that in here. Highlight one study involving the collection of data relevant to atmospheric chemistry. Oh, I don't have any of my common language traps in there. I need to keep that in there. Emphasize the radioactivity of radicals in the atmosphere and their numerous possible pathways. Are we all going to define numerous the same way? Nope, not necessarily. I need to get rid of that answer choice. Showcase the application of the method Adams used to a variety of different fields. Now that might seem okay, but if we're saying a variety of different fields, how many is that? We don't know. We don't agree on that. Guess what? I'm going to choose answer choice B because it is the only one without my language traps. The author's attitude toward Judy Blume's work can best be described as. Now remember, if I'm a great second cousin 3 times removed of Judy Blume, this answer cannot offend me, regardless of how closely related I am to the subject or the author. It cannot offend anyone. So I need to get rid of all of my answer choices that have that negative connotation. We can't describe her work as bored or boring or indifferent or angry or cynical. I'm deleting both of those answer choices right away because they're speaking negatively about this person. So I'm down to 2 here I still need to evaluate. Intrigued and enchanted, or delighted and not nostalgic. And if we're reading carefully, we need to recognize that enchanted is pretty extreme. I can be intrigued by something. It means I have some interest. I want to pay attention. I want to know more. But enchanted is like fairy tale type of thing. It's all consuming in terms of what we had. Therefore, I must choose answer choice C. We have some positive words that are coming into play because we have to speak neutrally or positively about the author or the subject, and I'm not going to extremes. All right, last one here for you. It can be most reasonably inferred that the authors of passage A and passage B would agree that the strict standards of Neapolitan pizza are vital to its heritage. Strict tingles my spidey sense. Vital tingles my spidey sense. Pizza has an extensive cultural heritage. Italian immigrants facilitated the spread of pizza on a global scale. The political context of pizza creation must always be considered. Okay, so what do we know we should get rid of? Well, I'm going to get rid of answer choice C right away. I'm putting all Italian immigrants into this group. I can't do that. I'm also going to get rid of answer choice D. Must always be considered. Too extreme there, black and white. I need to get rid of that. So now let's pay attention to what we have between A and B. The strict standards of Neapolitan pizza are vital to its heritage. Strict is kind of a negative connotation, right? We could have strong standards, and that would be a little bit more neutral. But if we say somebody is strict, it normally means that it's not very nice or not very accepting or extreme and are vital to its heritage. We could say important. We could talk about its impact, but vital is going extreme there. But if I were to say that pizza has an extensive cultural heritage, again, if I'm looking at these authors and they were writing about pizza here and something they agree on, they could be giving me extensive cultural heritage within that. So if I had to guess here, because I was running out of time and couldn't go back and look, B is by far my safest answer. So remember, watch your extremes, watch your negative connotation, be on the lookout for opinion-based words, and don't group yourself or any particular subgroup of people into an all-assumptive answer choice. Should save you a lot of time and help you avoid common trap answers. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you soon.